Right, this was a video we did for all 32 national teams prior to the 2018 World Cup, and most of you seemed to enjoy it. So to mark the start of the new Premier League season, we thought we'd replicate the format over two videos, part 1 today and part 2 tomorrow, looking at every one of the 20 Premier League clubs for the 2018-19 season. As with the World Cup video, this isn't simply a who is every club's greatest ever player video, but rather, which former player from each club would strengthen them the most if they were to return now. So taking into account of the players' talents, the club's weak spots, managerial philosophies, and all those other elements. Here are our views on which club legend each of the 20 Premier League teams should bring back if they could. AFC Bournemouth, Matt Ritchie. Going in alphabetical order, we start with AFC Bournemouth, and with all due respect, this is the weakest selection of all 20 clubs. Bournemouth fans shouldn't take that as any kind of attack on their club though, since it is simply a mark of their meteoric rise in recent seasons. If we included loan players, Rio Ferdinand and Jermaine Defoe would be superb candidates, whilst George Best did once play for the Cherries, although given that he was 37, way past his best, and only played 5 games for the club, it'd be pushing it to call him a legend. Bournemouth fans will want me to mention Steve Fletcher, but I'll have to remind them that they're a Premier League club now. With all that taken into account, our choice is Matt Ritchie. The Scottish international was excellent on the South Coast before leaving for Newcastle in 2016, and he has been similarly impressive in the North East. The Cherries have good options on the flanks, but Ritchie would certainly fight for a starting berth and strengthen their overall squad. Arsenal, Patrick Vieira. Arsenal are a team steeped in history, tradition, and pedigree, so picking a player from their raft of former stars isn't easy. Henry, Bergkamp, James, and Adams would all be incredible additions, but in the end we have to go for prime Patrick Vieira. Arsenal have simply never had anyone like him since the towering Frenchman departed. With those seemingly ever-extendable long limbs, Vieira was such a dynamic and effective midfielder. He'd walk into this Arsenal side in place of Granit Xhaka, providing energy, pace, power, and pure leadership, so he'd be our choice. Brighton, Mark Lawrenson. No longer all that popular among Brighton fans, and understandably so, we also had to quarrel with the fact that we rate both of Brighton's current centre-backs, but still Mark Lawrenson has to be our pick. Jimmy Case, Peter Ward, and Bobby Zamora would all be viable candidates, but Lawrenson was a world-class centre-half. He spent 4 years at Brighton before joining Liverpool, where he won 5 league titles and 1 European Cup in 7 seasons. So astute defensively, but also a real asset going in the other direction, the Irishman was well known for his long strides out of defence and incisive passing from the back. It would be harsh on Shane Duffy, who'd have to make way, but ultimately it's the right choice. Burnley, Jimmy McIlroy. Burnley are 2-time First Division champions and 1-time FA Cup winners, so they have had some great players over the years, but who to include here was an easy decision for us. Jimmy McIlroy is purely and simply Burnley's greatest ever player. A masterful schemer and goalscorer from inside forward, McIlroy spent his best years with the Clarets, scoring 131 goals in 497 games. A wonderful technician and pinpoint passer of a ball, McIlroy could come in either as an advanced central midfielder or in place of one of Sean Dyche's wide men. Cardiff City, IVOR ALLCHURCH. It may seem a little unusual for our Cardiff City inclusion to be far better associated with their great rival Swansea City, or Swansea Town as they were then, but we're continuing to be objectively honest and accurate, with no time for sentiment. And honestly speaking, ALLCHURCH would be the finest of Cardiff's former players to bring into the current fold. A quite brilliant second striker or attacking midfielder, ALLCHURCH was cool on the ball, intelligent with his movement, precise with his passing, and ruthless with his finishing. We'd be happy for him to come in as the Bluebird centre forward, so that Neil Warnock could continue with a rigid midfield trio and 2 pacey wide men. Chelsea, Jimmy Greaves. For a long time we toiled with whether to go for John Terry or Didier Drogba. On the one hand, Chelsea lack a real leader, and although they have a few good centre-backs, they don't have a truly great one like Terry. On the other hand, Alvaro Morata remains deeply unconvincing, and Drogba would bring a real focal point and match-winning talent to this Chelsea side. And then we remember Jimmy Greaves, and the pair of them went out the window. The greatest centre-forward Britain has ever produced, Greaves began his career at Stamford Bridge, where he scored 132 goals in 169 games before a move to AC Milan. A goal-scoring genius who came alive anywhere near the penalty box, Greaves will be worth over £200 million to Chelsea right now. Crystal Palace, Ian Wright. Staying with strikers and staying in London, our choice for Crystal Palace is Ian Wright. It's often forgotten that Wright spent as long at Palace as he did at Arsenal, and he enjoys cult hero status at both clubs. Palace were the club who took a chance on the serially rejected non-league forward, and boy did their gamble pay off. Wright had a sensational goal-scoring knack, twinned with good technique and raw pace. He would come straight into a Palace side with some real talent in midfield in place of Christian Benteke, and his link-up with Wilfried Zaha would strike fear into any Premier League defence. Everton, Dixie Dean. Everton have had 3 genuinely world-class centre-forwards who played for the club in their prime over the years: Dixie Dean, Tommy Lawton and Gary Lineker, in that order. Dean is the most phenomenal goalscorer in the history of the English game, and quite probably the finest header of a ball as well. He scored 395 goals in 447 games for Everton, and his record of 67 goals in a single season remains a record in English football. A rugged, instinctive and clinical goal-getter, although we cited Cenk Tosun as a potential player to watch this season, he'd never touched the starting 11 if Marco Silva had Dixie Dean in his ranks. Fulham, Johnny Haynes. The likes of George Best, Rodney Marsh and Bobby Moore all turned out for Fulham, but all were also past their best when they did so. Then there are the likes of Bedford Jezard, Charlie Mitten, Moussa Dembele and Edwin van der Sar. All would be welcome additions to the current Fulham side, to put it mildly, but our pick is the club's all-time greatest player, one Johnny Haynes. Haynes spent virtually his entire career at Craven Cottage, where his legacy is now celebrated with a statue outside the ground, in addition to the Johnny Haynes stand and the Haynes Lounge. Britain's first £100 a week footballer, Haynes was once described by Pele as the best passer of a ball he'd ever seen. He'd probably have to come in for Tom Kearney, which would be brutally harsh on the club captain, but would transform Fulham as an attacking force. Huddersfield Town, Roy Goodall. From club legend Jimmy Nicholson to a World Cup winner in Ray Wilson and a Ballon d'Or winner in Dennis Law, Huddersfield Town have been blessed with some excellent footballers since being founded 109 years ago. The club's greatest success came in the 1920s though, and it's from that era that we take our pick. Roy Goodall spent 16 years at Huddersfield Town, captaining the club to 3 consecutive First Division titles and 1 FA Cup. Widely regarded as the best defender in England for a number of years, Goodall would have captained England at the 1930 World Cup had the nation taken part. A right back during his career, Goodall would slot in on the right side of a back 3 in David Wagner's current 11. So that's it for our 7. Thanks for watching, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications for more from us if you enjoyed the video, and you can now also follow us on Twitter for more ramblings from me. Our username is simply @HITC Sevens.